my inner knowing, empowering you to find your compass for the journey. We are dedicated to supporting you to rediscover and trust your natural ability to navigate life each day by sharing insight and experience through the lens of two professional communicators and their guests. We intend to prompt internal inquiry that supports all those willing to explore a unique path. Well, hello.
Hello. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Well, I know we talking about Just Like Me today. And then before we got on, you started looking something up. So are you going to read us the poem?
Well, it's long,
Yeah.
but I think it's important.
Yeah. Okay. So if everybody just take a minute, as long as you're not driving, and just close your eyes, pause for just a moment so you can take in the words and whatever they mean for you. Go ahead, babe.
Sure. This is Call Me By My True Names by Thich Nhat Hanh. Do not say that I'll depart tomorrow, because even today I still arrive. Look deeply. I arrive in every second to be a bud on a spring branch, to be a tiny bird with wings still fragile, to learn to sing in my new nest, to be a caterpillar in the heart of a flower, to be a jewel hiding itself in a stone. I still arrive in order to laugh and to cry, in order to fear and to hope. The rhythm of my heart is the birth and death of all that are alive. I'm the mayfly metamorphosing on the surface of the river. I'm the bird which, when spring comes, arrives in time to eat the mayfly. I'm the frog swimming happily in the clear pond. And I am also the grass snake who, approaching in silence, feeds itself on the frog. I'm the child in Uganda, all skin and bones, my legs as thin as bamboo sticks. And I'm the arms merchant selling deadly weapons to Uganda. I'm the 12-year-old girl, refugee on a small boat, who throws herself into the ocean after being raped by a sea pirate. And I'm the pirate, my heart not yet capable of seeing and loving. I'm a member of the Politburo with plenty of power in my hands, and I'm the man who has to pay his debt of blood to my people dying slowly in a forced labor camp. My joy is like spring, so warm it makes flowers bloom in all walks of life. My pain is like a river of tears, so full it fills the four oceans. Please call me by my true names, so I can hear all my cries and laughs at once, so I can see that my joy and pain are one. Please call me by my true names so I can wake up, and so the door of my heart can be left open, the door of compassion. It's powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you feel when you read it?
It's hard and beautiful all at the same time. It's hard to acknowledge that all those parts can be this part of the same whole.
Yeah.
You know, that love and beauty and joy all exist with hatred,
cruelty,
sorrow, struggle.
Mm-hmm.
What's it say to you?
Reminding us of our complexity, our humanness, that we are that complicated. I don't think we want to be, but we are.
What do you think it is in us that when we don't want to acknowledge the duality or the multiplicity, what is it in us that becomes judgmental and vengeful when we see that in others?
And not ourself, you mean?
Right.
It's a good question. Man, there's so many things that come to mind. I think about shame first. That's what comes up.
Mm.
I can't see myself so wholly or fully. That means I would have to acknowledge the parts of myself that hurt others. And that, it's hard for me too. I don't like harming anyone. And yet I know I do.
Haven't you ever relished in that great put down? Because I have.
I don't think so.
Really?
I don't like it.
Well, maybe I'm conceding some cruel piece of me in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I may have when I was younger.
Well, that's more of what I'm thinking, but sometimes now too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm still growing.
Mm. As we all are.
It doesn't last long, and then comes shame.
Mm. The shame is connected to what?
Not being what I want to be.
Mm. What do you want to be?
Kind. All of the good things in the poem and not the bad.
Sure.
But I think that, my interpretation of Thich Nhat Hanh's poem is that it isn't necessarily good and bad. It's all parts of the whole.
Yeah.
And accepting that oneness.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It just makes me wonder if we hold ourselves to the same standards that we hold others to.
Tell me more.
When we are so judgmental of others, do we pause long enough to reflect and ask ourselves, do I do that as well? Is there a way that I do that? Maybe the specifics are different, but ultimately, do I harm others? I think we all do. Still go back, we've mentioned it on another podcast, but that woman that we met at that one retreat, we're all hypocrites. Yeah.
I'm laughing because I'm the one who brought that on by saying something judgmental.
Yeah.
I said hypocrites.
Yeah.
I don't remember who the hypocrites were, but it wasn't me until it was.
Right.
Damn it.
Yeah.
Anyway, no, it was wise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I don't want it to end there, right? We all have our story, how we have gotten to here, where we are in this moment. And the reality is I think if we sat down and really were curious with people and they shared with us their story, it would make sense, the choices that they made. I think a lot of us could connect with them.
Sure, if we could pause between stimulus and response.
Right. Right. Slow ourselves down long enough to consider what we're thinking. Where does it come from? As best we can be aware. What is my intention? What comes from that? What's the what does being judgmental, how does it benefit us?
Yeah, where do you feel it in your body?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What do you think? Are you aware of where you feel it?
I think I feel it in my heart, which is fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah. What are you aware of?
But it's an angry heart.
What is it angry about?
Well, I'm guessing it's that I have done similarly. and attribute value to it. And I'm not saying we should be amoral, but it is interesting is how do you reconcile notions of good and bad and right and wrong with we are all of these things. What do you think of that one?
It's interesting. I mean, what comes to mind is, we like certainty and we like boxes and we like black and white. I think all of that makes us, provides us what we think we need to feel safe. I think living in the gray is harder for us. I don't think we like incongruency, but we all live in it. That's the hypocrisy piece. But I mean, it's interesting because I'm just kind of rolling it around and I still think, it feels like it goes back to safety.
Mm-hmm.
Safety of me, safety of my story, safety of my beliefs, safety of whatever, my choices.
When I step outside of an Eastern philosophy, because I come from the West, and I'm not going to pretend to know all the layers that Thich Nhat Hanh intended in his poem. All I could do is take it as it comes to me, because I'm not an Eastern philosophy scholar nor a Western, a human. What speaks to me is that I want to incline myself towards the higher vibration. And so in this moment, that helps me reconcile the notions of right and wrong and good and bad with I can be all these things, present, past, future, right? But I think like from a life's purpose is trending towards the higher vibration. But I also think that part of that higher vibration may be recognizing that other people are on their own path as well. And that raising your vibration is stepping away from the massive judgment.
Yeah. It's interesting. What came to mind as you were sharing was, we have this, I don't know, way of being, I guess, where once we figure it out, everybody should know it already.
Tell us more.
Well, that we can be not very tolerant of other people's journey. And then once we have the awareness, we just want to be able to explain it to everybody, and then they'll get it. And then they'll be right here next to us. Right. Yeah. As opposed to, feeling like we're in front of them or they're behind us or whatever. I mean, it doesn't matter. But yeah, I see it so often, even in the work that I do, particularly if I'm working with, a system, a family system or a work system, right? It's like, well, I've figured that out. Why haven't you? And it's like, well, but you didn't used to, right? And so we have this, I don't know, want, desire, need. Again, I'm going to go to safety, where I need you to understand this so that I can feel safer. And I hear that language a lot. I need to make them. They need to understand it. I'm like, well.
That reminds me of Clay Miller, did
the Vision Quest with,
yeah, out in Arizona.
Yeah.
Talking about giving up the need to be right.
Yeah.
I gave up the need to be right. That's a big statement.
It is. It is.
And I'm guessing he's had to give it up several times.
Yeah.
Is that judgmental? It's recognizing that
the complexity of it. Yeah.
All of us.
Oh, yeah.
All the layers.
All the layers. Yeah, maybe we've given up the need to be right around sports activities, but not around relationship dynamics, right? It can be that. It's not like once we have an awareness, it just fixes everything. And we're this now congruent, smooth, non-human anymore.
Right.
Yeah. Something clicked in our brain about that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's enough.
Yeah. One of the things that's coming up as we're talking is just the struggle of, if you're acknowledging that we can be all those things, good, evil,
selfish,
giving, and then the reaction is judgment, so that you can separate yourself and be safe from that. The difficulty and, well, what if it was my daughter that got raped? And the reason that comes up is because that is the
part of the poem.
Girl on the boat in the poem.
Yeah.
And, in acknowledging that I am the pirate as well, as being the girl that got raped and threw herself into the sea. Can we release ourselves of the judgment piece, but still expect there to be repercussions?
Tell me more, just so that I'm clear.
Well, I mean, my concern is we know people who have been victims or had family members who are victims of crime, for example.
Yes.
And so that is what's coming to mind. And part of me, I just believe that whoever did the crime needs to pay the penalty, the debt, whatever it is, the consequences. And so I didn't want this conversation to suggest that I don't think there should be consequences.
Oh, sure.
The issue is, and at least this is what I'm thinking for me, is, can I get myself to a space where I acknowledge that there are evil parts in me, bad parts, cruel parts. I'm just trying to reconcile, that the big picture, and there's a lot going on in my mind, and as we discuss it, but in accepting that, it doesn't mean that the people that engage in those things don't have to have the repercussions. That's part of their journey.
Yeah. It's so interesting as you say that, because what I was thinking about was, it's probably that same part of us that lets people off the hook, when they've made a choice that is harmful, because then we can identify with that part, and then we can release responsibility off of them. I do think that we can see and experience the full humanity of someone and hold boundaries. I don't think that by being able to see them more clearly, by being able to see ourselves in them, that means we don't hold boundaries, or that we don't hold them to whatever consequence comes as a result of the choice that they made.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you thinking about?
Just rolling all that around, I was thinking about, I can't remember when all the Amish school children were murdered, and I remember, because I was a much younger man than I am today when that happened. And like the very next day, the parents were on the news forgiving the gunman. And it was just so foreign and shocking, and that they could do that. And I don't think it has to be that for us to recognize the totality of our existence. We, that doesn't have to come. It's a choice, good, bad, or not.
Yeah.
Right. And that's for the individual. But in any event, that was it's still moving to me to think of. But I'm not saying it's the right path. It's just a path.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But anyway, from the poem, I don't know that that's really what, I don't read into that. That's what Thich Nhat Hanh is saying.
Yeah. Yeah. No, just see more clearly the wholeness of ourself and others is what it feels like.
Right.
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, I don't know that I remember enough to talk about it in any specifics. I think about the religion piece, and sure, I don't know why there couldn't be something that is about, but I don't know that it is, right? It could be just a choice that we've made in our lives to not carry things we have no control over. I mean, the death of our children in that situation.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, it's a hard conversation to have. That's why it will be the topic of our next retreat.
Yeah. Yeah. Going down that path. When we were talking about the retreat in November, that poem was what you brought up, and this is what you talked about.
Yes.
Do you remember what was on your heart and mind when you brought that up?
Yeah, the state of our nation right now.
Yeah.
I think we're post COVID. Seemed like the apocalypse at times. And I think there was just a lot of pent up aggression and fear, driving it. And then you throw the political landscape on top of that. And it's just, everybody talks about the polarization, and it's true. You go and step into politics, and it's just, rational people that I would call friends would be bitter enemies in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And so it just struck me, given the fact we've got this election coming up in November, and I think it will be over at that point when we have the retreat, or we're doing the retreat just before it.
Actually, the retreat is 2 days after the presidential election.
Okay, well, it's ripe. And then, so yes, it was a great idea. And it'll be really hard, but probably really good for us to take the time to examine this.
Yeah, while it's so alive in our body and mind.
Yeah, I mean, for me, and I doom scroll every morning, even though I know I shouldn't, and probably through the afternoon too. It's just visceral, and I think that the news foments that, and it goes both ways.
No, sure. Oh, absolutely.
So, I mean, what was on my heart is hopefully some healing from that can come through joint effort.
Yeah.
Coming together to look at it, talk about it.
Yeah. Share our perspective and experiences, and yeah.
I'm just having all kinds of ideas for activities now. I'll keep that between us, though.
Yay. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I had this when I used to go to church regularly, and we had this minister who I loved. But anyway, he'd be like, he's up on they didn't have a pulpit in the Methodist church, but it was a step up from the rest of the floor, when he'd come up to the edge of that. He said, "I'm about to come out, step on some toes right now."
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then he would.
Good for him.
Yeah, he didn't get to stay very long. People got rid of him, but I thought he was great. Stepped on too many toes.
Yeah.
By telling truth.
Sure. Being curious, inquiring.
Yeah, I don't know that it was truth, but it was certainly questioning.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, let's think about this. Let's consider. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm stepping off that step. Yeah.
growth comes from our uncomfortableness, not our comfort. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Just thinking about, when I think about just like me, I think about those, that the personal work that I've done around that. And, I've shared a little bit about that. Like when I am driving, I don't have like the road rage, piece, because driving myself to the hospital, dying, not having any memory of my actions, being able to easily say, I don't know what's going on for them. Maybe they just found out that their partner died or their child has cancer. Whatever the story is that I, make up, it doesn't matter. But just that I've been there too, that I've done those things. I think we can get caught up in the specifics. Well, I didn't do it that way. Right. And so mine's different because I didn't do that. I did this. And so we can rationalize and make ours, I don't know, not as harmful.
Less bad.
Yeah, less bad. Yeah.
No, it's funny. I mean, you've taught me good lessons. I still have the road rage reaction sometimes, It's usually when I'm stressed.
Mm-hmm.
I catch myself.
Yeah.
And I usually pause and take a deep breath and let that shit go.
Right.
Or relax and release.
Yeah. Yeah.
As Michael Singer would say.
Mm-hmm.
Relax and release.
It's interesting, when you're saying that, I think that I don't know. I mean, what comes to mind is just how we forget so quickly how much fear impacts the choices that we make. People make not a good choice around something, and we can have an awareness that they were in a bad place or under a lot of stress and still expect them to be their healthiest self, right? I think so much of the judgment comes from, well, they should be at their healthiest self all the time.
Well, especially when they're impacting me.
Well, yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We can have very little, if no grace for others when they're struggling, and ourselves too. But it's really trying to increase our awareness around how we're not all that different. And again, it's not about not having boundaries. It's just that we're human and we struggle and we have bad days and we make choices that harm others. Just trying to increase our awareness so that we can do them less often, less intense. And we don't stay in that space as long.
Yeah. No, and I was thinking just, having grace for ourselves in that process is really important.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of me judging myself, just the relax and release is a really nice way to try to handle that. It's because it gives me a moment to acknowledge, oh, that's me doing that. That's me having this crazy rage reaction. Something that doesn't, that it doesn't need to be, judging that person and et cetera. I mean, how many people have I cut off that I don't even know?
Sure.
Right?
Yeah. Plenty. Yeah.
I mean, that's just an example. It could be all kinds of behavior. Right?
Sure. So when you bring up the relax and the release, can you walk us through what that process is for you?
Well, it just comes from listening to Michael Singer podcast because he talks about it all the time. He's just like, listen, you have a whole lifetime up until you start to, become aware of loading those feelings in. And so he's talking about not only when a memory comes up, I mean, this is fascinating. It's really great advice. And he just talks about, listen, you don't have to go back and call every person you ever harmed and acknowledge, everything that you did wrong and ask for forgiveness, etc. It doesn't have to be like that, because what will happen is when some memory comes up, that is your guidance system telling you, you stored this one. Mm-hmm. See it when it comes. Mm-hmm. Take a breath, relax, and release. And that's, over time is just letting those things out of your body. That's the past.
Oh, okay.
And then his point is, why would I want to put more of that shit on top of everything I already piled in there? No, I'm not doing that.
Right.
So when you catch yourself in the moment doing it, when I want to say, that fucker just blah, blah, blah. Yeah. No, just, I see myself. I may even do it. And then it's like, oh, there I go, relax and release. Whew. Let it out. So you're not storing. So do I catch it every time? Heck no. Yeah. I'm human.
Yeah.
But, as Devin Berry would say, we're inclining the mind always towards something higher vibration.
Yeah. Or not. Right?
Well, intending a higher vibration doesn't mean you're getting there.
Yeah.
Sure. Because I can go from one bad lower vibration to the next. For me, the more I recognize, oh, that's what I just did. And then instead of judging myself and I'm such a bad person because, Theresa doesn't do that.
Aww.
That's not helpful. And that's more relax and release. But anyway, that's what I'm talking about.
Just so that we're clear, when you talk about lower vibration and higher vibration, what does that mean for you?
Well, I started getting sensitive as we're having the discussion because I'm interpreting things from your eyeballs, but it was like when I'm putting labels of good and bad on, there's judgment associated with that as well. And so I was trying to move away from that. So I chose to use higher and lower vibration, but really it's how it feels in my body. If it's small, it's constricted. If I say that I've got anger, and I feel it in my heart, that's a low vibration. If it's tight and mean, small, as opposed to when I'm relaxing and releasing, that's open and relaxed and allowing. And I think it's a good, for me, guidance system as to, well, is this a low vibration behavior? Feeling, act, whatever you want to call it, or is it a high vibration? And how can I change it from one to the other? How can I move up?
Yeah, it's interesting. When you're sharing, I'm thinking about, integrating or disintegrating, if we're moving towards having our whole self involved, in a decision making, integrating higher vibration, disintegrating where there's only parts of us that might be speaking to this more chaotic experience being like a lower vibration. That's what came to mind.
Tell me more about more chaotic.
Oh, just that we're not all working together.
You mean our self is not working together.
Right. Like all our parts, are not working together.
Tell us more.
Yeah, we're just not going in the same direction. Maybe there's a part of us that's like, I shouldn't say that, but I'm fucking gonna say it anyway.
Did you just quote me? Because I say stuff like that sometimes.
Do you?
I do. Yeah. The last time I said that son of a bitch or MRF or whatever when we were driving, you're like, no, he's not. I was like, yes, he is.
Right.
And I meant to say it.
And right.
How do you suppose that vibration feels even as I'm recounting it?
Right.
Small.
Pretty well, yeah. And whatever our way of experiencing it, small, tight, disconnected, not integrous. I think about that too.
Yeah. It just struck me. It's also in like when I go to that space, that's up in my cognitive in my brain. And the hard piece of the heart will respond to it. But the real hard energy.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, the more expansive is the when you have it a cohesive whole, right?
Sure, absolutely. To
And
me,
so
that's
when it's all integrated, like you said, right?
Right.
Then
Yeah.
higher vibration, right? And probably more, I don't know, if you wanted to put a label of good on it, better for me. Even though sometimes it feels really good to do the angry piece, but it doesn't last, then I feel lesser.
Yeah, it's interesting because I was thinking, I wonder if it feels good because it's a moment of release, but then you're piling it back on.
Oh, I don't know. I think it's power for me. Makes me feel like I have some control over the situation, you know. I've labeled you now.
Yeah.
And that means that you making me feel out of control has been
taken care of.
That's right. Regained.
Yeah. You found safety for yourself by labeling someone.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Not real safety.
No. Well, and then the cost, right?
Yeah.
Because when you do that and you set it and you're so sure of it, you just stored it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's going to come back as appendiceal cancer.
Oh.
Or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. I think about that. Not holding as much in my body. Yeah. What are you thinking?
Just experiencing. I think it's a great conversation. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Because it's hard.
Yeah.
And it's hard to acknowledge, those parts too.
Yeah.
That self-justified, righteous, because that's the last time whenever I told you, oh, yes, he is.
Yeah.
That was a righteous indignation statement.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's so funny because just thinking about it, I could feel it all again. So despite my relax and release, I must have kept some of it.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Thinking it's protecting us in some way.
Yeah. And I guess Clay Miller would say, I gave up the need to be right. If that was the case, I would have just said, okay.
Right.
But I'm not your yes man. Well, sometimes I
No, I was thinking about, I do group supervision for clinicians post-grad before they get their independent licensure. And I wish I could remember this movie that we watched one time during group, it was like the same situation, but it was from 6 different people's perspective. And it was, just fascinating how we don't really think about that. Everybody, we can't see it all. We can't hear it all. We can't take it in. We can't take it all in. We can't. But we sure as heck think our perspective is the right perspective.
The truth.
Oh, sure. Sure. Yeah. And how often those stories, that get formed, our judgment comes from before we even had a fully functioning brain. Like we're little kids and we have this concrete black and white brain. This causes that. And that's where so much of our stories formed. But then we develop into this more abstract ability, but yet we're still living with all that story that was created before our brain could hold all that information. And we don't challenge it, it's just assuming that it's true until we do choose to challenge it and recognize so much of our story is really, really old.
The fact that it takes sometimes hitting rock bottom or having a health crisis or whatever until that becomes apparent.
Yeah.
I think it's common.
Yeah.
At least it was for me.
Well, I'm glad that you brought this up and thinking about the retreat, which, is November 7th through 10th. I know we do have a few spots left for people, and you can register on our website if you're interested. And if you have questions, let us know. But it is a and I say it like everybody's been to one of our retreats before, but but they haven't. But we start Thursday evening around 6, and we have a meal. You and I prepare all the meals. It's our way of nurturing
caring for people. Yeah,
nurturing the group, taking care of, feeling valued. And there's experiential exercises and group processes and some journaling and some, I would call light meditation.
Downtime.
Yeah, downtime.
Plenty of that too.
Mm-hmm. Exploring the grounds of the retreat center.
1850s.
Oh, home. Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah. With the 150-year-old tobacco barn.
Yeah.
5 stories tall. I mean, it's amazing. Yeah. It's a lovely place.
It is. And then our very collaborative group process around the fire walk. This isn't a typical fire walk. It is something that every participant is very involved in the creation and of whether you walk or not, it doesn't matter. That's not the point.
Right.
The lesson comes in the doing of the process, no matter what process we're doing. So, but we love it. It's always lovely. The people that come, the engagement and the connection that happens. So, anyway, a little bit more about what we'll be exploring.
It's going to be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Well, thanks for this time, babe.
Yeah, I want to close with where we started, just the last couple lines. Please call me by my true names so I can hear all my cries and laughs at once. So I can see that my joy and pain are one. Please call me by my true names so I can wake up and so the door of my heart can be left open, the door of compassion.
Thanks, babe.
Love you.
I love you too. Thank you for joining us today. We are excited to explore life with you. We encourage curiosity, self-growth, and we strive to be more compassionate every day.